Okay.
You're doing good.
Okay.
Doing wonderful. Take two. Action.
My name is Tiffany Madrona Martinez. I'm 18 years old, and as a young Chicana in Red City, I recognized pretty early on that I was different. I attended a private Catholic school in Red City, and the majority was white, while the second majority was Pan American. And the thing is, I never really had a big sense of identity, specifically in my own community. And because of this, I always copied everything I saw. Because everything I saw, I believe that's what made me more Mexican, that's what made me more Salvadoran. And so 2 days after I graduated 8th grade, I did something that really opened my mindset. So I was the main force behind the Road City Black Lives Matter protests. And this event really set off a domino effect within my life. I met a lot of significant people at this protest. And the most significant, the most influential would have to be Jose Castro, local activist, artist, and Red City native.
My name is Jose Castro, formerly known as Castro. I'm from North Fair Oaks, Redwood City, unincorporated Redwood City to be exact. My mom was born in Jalisco, Tepatitlan, and my dad, which I don't know too much about, he was born in San Cristobal. Growing up, first of all, not having my father around, having to deal with domestic violence that me and my sister were a part of, unfortunately, at 3 years old, and having to grow up with this in the back of my head, moving to this new city where I'm getting this new father and having to make new friends away from all of my family. I felt like I really had to find an outlet, find something in my life that needed to make sense for me at a really young age, like I'm talking like 8 years old, but also inclusive. So then I found art. Art was a way I was able to maneuver all these situations where I was able to put all emotions out. It allowed me to create a career for myself, but also prove myself worthy of my own insecurities, but also my family's and the path of history that we have. High school should be all about learning about yourself and your past and your history, your culture, etc. So I got into Chicano art. I started asking my parents and my grandma, who was alive at the time, about where we were from, what our family has endured. The want and need to want to change my people or want to change better, for the youth and all that came at a point in time when I was doing the North Fair Oaks mural, because I met my mentor now, Rafael Avendano, love you so much, bro, and other peers around him that really showed me how to create change. And creating change by being in the front lines, by having a positive attitude, and by wanting to give back. Not only was I presented this idea that, oh wait, I can create change, but I was also given the template. It's all within everybody. Anyone can give back and anyone can create change through a positive attitude, right? I'm just restoring back to the consciousness, because if people aren't conscious about their actions or about where we come from, then we don't know where we're gonna go.
I would say it's just the way people carry themselves and how they react to certain things, because it heavily impacted the religious beliefs. Because the Spanish, when they colonized, they were Christian, they were Catholic, and they basically just inputted and forced these beliefs onto indigenous civilizations, which has carried on even over 500 years later, which is pretty insane.
On both sides, you have two groups of people who kind of know what they're saying and know where they're at when it comes to little jokes or terms that obviously shouldn't be acceptable in society. But at the end of it, you have a clause of people who feel lost and not knowing the history, right? And who think it's okay to say the N-word, who thinks it's okay to say these bad jokes, bad inspirations, bad TV shows, etc. We're gonna have those ignorant people who think it's okay because they watch it and they see it every day. Now, if you put on the other side, for example, you could take us into account, right? I mean, my mom was telling me right, left and right, don't say that. Sit down the right way, sit up straight, say hi to everybody when you walk into a bedroom. So I think the difference there again is the household and the consciousness, right? The support, right? It all happens, everything derives from the house. So if The way we break that barrier within them both is to lead by example.
I was born in Los Angeles, California, Pacoima, and was raised in Redwood City, California.
And where are your parents from?
My mom is from El Salvador. It's a small town called Xochitoto. And my father is from Honduras. My mom, she had a store. It was called Cassandra's Store on Middlefield. She had that for like 20 years. My dad had body shops, mechanic shops, towing companies. All my friends were Hispanic, Latino. My mother put me in a different school with a different race. And we were dressing different, hairnets, Ben Davis clothes, Nike Cortezes, going into a all white school where they were dressing with polo shirts and Lucky Brand jeans probably. When I went back to high school and I went into Sequoia, I went back to my reality, to my actual, how I was raised. And as I got older, when I left high school, I was able to mingle with other races because of that experience that I had. Latinos would stick with Latinos, African American would stick with African American, white would stick with white. So if you were to see a Hispanic guy with a white female, it was in common. I think it had a lot to do with the way we were raised with our parents. They didn't really allow us to date outside of our race because they would be like, oh well, where was she born? What are her parents? You would have to say she was Hispanic because then they would probably be like, well, you know, if she's white or if she's African American, then they wouldn't be able to communicate with them. They wouldn't be able to feed them the type of foods that they would cook or actually bond with them. They raised us with old school beliefs. You're telling me that I'm a certain way sometimes. Yeah. That you see me a certain way when I say something. So every race is different. We have our beliefs, and every other race has their beliefs. I never judge. I just bring it up sometimes, like, hey, you know, it's weird how somebody does this or somebody does that. Do you think that I'm racist? Is that what you're saying? Like, I'm not racist. Like, or do you think my father or my mother are racist? Or where are you getting at? Like the racism or?
Yeah, but I think you have certain beliefs that are a bit problematic.
Okay, so like for example, what? What belief? One belief.
So my father and I have very contradicting beliefs, and I always do try my best to tell him, like, that's not correct. That's a little, you shouldn't really be saying that. I always try my best to tell him what's right and what's wrong. But the thing is, it's hard because he can be a little stubborn. And the thing is, he also is my father. So no matter what happens, I'm always going to love him. Like, I can't even hate him for it because it's not his fault the way he is. It's due to his past and the ideas he was raised with. And so it's not his fault at all. But he can't change. Like, do you think I have changed some of your beliefs? Do you think?
Yeah, I'm sure that you have had a big part in it because sometimes if I say something or if I'm doing something, you will probably tell me, hey, you know what? Well, you give me a look or a smirk, and I'm like, okay, maybe I wasn't supposed to say that. But, you know, there's always room for improvement. I believe that I have a lot of friends now that are different races, different cultures, and it's like good to learn their culture because once you go get around them, you learn their culture. What type of food do they eat? What do they like to do on the weekend? You know, it's very, very interesting to have that around you. But you get older, and you get wiser, and you get more mature, and you start being more open-minded. That was never the case. Mm-hmm. Do I still say certain things? Maybe I do, messing around, you know, but nothing like crazy like that.
Why do you think that me and you are so different when it comes to how we think things?
I think the way you were raised in the last 10 years, maybe you're raised away from me. Your beliefs are very different than mine. You know, you weren't around me a lot, you know, like like you were before. So we kind of drifted apart when it comes to beliefs, when it comes to certain things. And you are very different because of the culture that you're around. When you view things, you view them a certain way that I would never view them. I would never in my life think that you were gonna view things differently than my other kids. You're now in a different stage of life where there's a lot of things that are allowed, and it's okay and it's fine. And I'm very proud that you have changed a lot of the things that you have done.
In the beginning, like, this wasn't our fault, but to recognize now we do have faults. Whether it be people who are actively trying to help and bring awareness, and to other people who are just really blind to the fact and believe that there's nothing to be done. I feel like even if there is change, like, there's still gonna be some people, like, that's just kind of how it is. It's not just within, like, not having racist or homophobic or colorist ideals. It's also just having a change within their own personal selves, of having to be more understanding, more caring, and more well-rounded when it comes to how they view other people and themselves. Having these ignorant thoughts isn't the only thing that will be changed. I feel like after people recognize the ignorance they hold, it's gonna be a change as a whole. The thing is, it's very hard to try to even think of what a perfect world will be. There shouldn't have ever been a time where people thought less than because of the way they looked and acted and who they loved, and just being able to recognize that that wasn't never okay, and fighting against all forms of oppression. I feel like within my own community, the want to be better in this way, when we have been placed into poverty and in a system of violence, not being racist or homophobic is the least of our worries. It's also a whole system that needs to be eradicated and dismantled. I feel like change has to be wanted. You can't change anyone or yourself if you don't have the will or the want to. And it's gonna take a lot of effort. And I feel like eventually a change for my own people will be achieved, but I probably won't be there to see it, I feel. And I just feel like we have to recognize the complete faults that we hold to be able to create this change.